We will call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amy, would you call roll?
Yes, Commissioner Digital,
Here.
Commissioner Cronin. Here. Commissioner Wire, Commissioner Shaw,
Here.
and Mayor Lindsay.
Here. You have before you the agenda for this evening.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there anything anyone wants to discuss on the consent calendar? If not, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent calendar is presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under unfinished business, approve the second reading of ordinance 1668. Amend appendix B zoning section 1702. And Jameson, would you want to address that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the second reading of an ordinance to adjust the requirements for serving on our airport board. There have been no changes from the first reading. This allows up to two of the 5 airport members to be residents of Lake County, but outside of the city. Currently, all 5 members must be city residents. And then, hold up, give me a second. I'm skipping ahead of item, aren't I? How long were you guys gonna let me go for? We skip back. Okay, this is the rezoning ordinance. Second reading of the rezoning ordinance. This rezones the land west of town that's recently annexed. The first lot is intended for Dollar General, and so this rezones that to highway business. And then the other 2 lots gets rezoned to ag, which matches the current use for those properties. No changes from first reading. This received unanimous approval from the planning commission, and staff recommend approval.
Questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve second reading of ordinance 1668, amend appendix B zoning section 17.02.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now you can do the airport board.
You guys may have heard something about our ordinance on the airport board. Let me tell you more. So as I was saying, currently all 5 members of the airport board are required to be city residents. And this ordinance would allow it to up to 2 of them could be county residents outside of the city. Also, right now, there is an ex officio non-voting spot for a county resident outside the city. And so this would remove that position since county residents would be eligible to serve as voting members on the board. So this maintains other parameters for our board, including terms of office at 5 years and an ex officio member from the city commission. And then it clarifies that the city commission maintains the ability to remove a member due to absences or other reasons. I'll stand by for any questions.
And then just to add to that, this came to us and that as a request from the airport board. The city of Madison has approximately 60+ airplanes that call Madison home. And not everybody lives within the city limits, but this gives them an opportunity to serve on the board. So other questions, comments?
Is this board currently full?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. Any other questions? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 1669 to set the membership of the airport board.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 10, resolution 2024-16. Set hearing on bonds for DSU Athletic Event Center. And Jameson, I'll ask you to introduce this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll provide some background before we invite some members of the audience to speak towards this. I think the first thing I'll clarify, because anyone who reads the resolution or reads our agenda might think that the city is looking to contribute substantial amounts of money to DSU for their athletic facility through this bond, and that's not the case. So, DSU Foundation has employed Meyer Henry Sargent, and Todd is here with us tonight to, as bond counsel, to help finance some of their improvements for their athletics facility. And, in order for them to, I'll put it this way, nonprofits such as DSU Foundation are eligible for economic development bonds, but in order for them to secure those bonds, they need to have a public hearing through a local government entity or the state. So we are being used as a conduit so that they can have access to those economic development bonds. We provide the hearing format for them to make sure that it's a public opportunity for people to speak towards that. But we are actually statutorily restricted and prohibited from contributing any money towards those bonds, so the city will not spend a dime towards those bonds. I am not familiar with this process, so I'll have some questions tonight as well. But at this point, the city is considering a resolution that would set a hearing for the next meeting. So tonight's action does not do anything official with the bonds. It just sets that hearing for next meeting and gives people the opportunity to have some heads up if they want to come speak towards that. Other questions I'll clarify is will this count against our constitutional debt limit? No, the bonds would not count as their debt limits. It would only go into our audit as a footnote that this is something that we have partaked in. And again, I'll reiterate, the city is restricted by statute to pledge any of its revenue or assets to the payment on these bonds. Covered that. I think that's all I'll cover right now. And if anybody from DSU otherwise wants to come on up and speak towards it, now's a great time.
Todd, would you like
You wanna-
to speak?
In
Take
1980,
Time to come here, yes, please.
Can you introduce yourself for the camera?
Todd Meyer Henry, bond counsel from Sioux Falls. In 1986, the Congress changed the tax code, and before that, private activity bonds, which this is one, where it's kind of the Wild West, and you could issue it for Taco John's and all kinds of different things. They changed the law, and what they did is they classified two types of bonds: governmental bonds, which are the bonds like the city, the county, the state, school district issue, and private activity bonds, which are bonds that are issued that are not government bonds. They would be like low income housing bonds, small factory bonds, student loan bonds, first time homebuyer bonds, the South Dakota housing issues, and 501c3 bonds, which is the most likely type of bond that cities and counties would see. Under 9-54, that's our economic development statute. Our state gave cities the ability to act as a conduit. One of the things the tax code changed was they didn't want 501c3s issuing their own bonds. They wanted some public input. So they said, okay, what we'll do is we'll make the governmental entities be the issuer. They're not responsible for the payment, but that would give the public the ability to say, we like this project or we don't like this project, but give them an opportunity to show up and tell the issuing entity, maybe we don't want this in our backyard. Well, you kind of know that story. So that's why we're in front of you, because that's the federal law. In order to issue tax exempt bonds, where they get an interest benefit as the conduit borrower, we come in front of the city and ask them to be the conduit issuer. State law does just what Jameson said. You actually are prohibited. I've shown up and cities go, no, we want to help in this. Can we pledge something? No, you're prohibited to pledge. So there's a statute that says the state of South Dakota, the city, any other political subdivisions can't pledge any of their revenues, properties, or anything else for the payment of these bonds. These are solely revenue bonds, and they're paid through a revenue agreement, which is the bonds are issued, and you may have a loan agreement, a note, a mortgage that's pledged for the payment. And the note, the mortgage looks like a commercial loan underneath that's pledged for payment of the bonds. And the commercial loan is with the borrower, the nonprofit underneath. So when it's all said and done, the only people that really work real hard is the mayor and finance officer to sign the documents. And then once we're closed, it kind of becomes the foundation and whoever buys the bonds, they communicate and the city's kind of out, other than the finance officer is gonna want for the auditor, what is your loan balance at the end of the year? And then that goes in as a note, which that was under GASB, just changed decade plus ago to, they wanted all the non-obligations at least listed, so they knew how many obligations were outstanding. So that's how it works. This is kind of a SDSU, USD foundations have been using this type of a borrowing mechanism to help the universities. So they could go out and raise money, provide future pledges, monetize that and give it to them when they're building, when the universities are building their projects to help get better projects up and going. And so what's being pledged are the revenues that they will receive through donations and pledges in the future. And so all of that is a security for these bonds, the only security.
Very good. And today, basically, in that, we are just setting the date of the hearing, which will be next, 2 Mondays from now.
Correct.
And so hopefully in that, you'll be here and,
I will.
answer any questions that may come up between now and then. But it's best to make sure that the public understands, you know, that there is no obligation from the city and that we are not making the decision tonight. I've already been asked that today. And that we will be having the hearing and making a decision on the 17th.
Correct.
One question for me, does the city have any responsibility through the life of the bonds for the repayment process? Does it flow through us or anything like that?
No, it doesn't hit your accounts at all. It
Once we
goes-
sign papers, just a matter
It's
of getting
between-
it put
it's-
on the audit. We're done.
And this size, we're probably looking at a private placement, which means one of our regional banks or what I call local state banks that you know their names will probably buy these bonds and support the project. We've had a number of calls already saying, have you sold those? We're interested. So
What is the terms of the bond?
it's usually 20 years. But
And
we,
the question was asked in that, are we a pass through? And I believe you answered that as a no. We are.
no, you're not, you're at,
We're just simply off on.
Right.
yeah, it's off balance sheet for you. Although that's a bad word, off balance sheet, but.
All right, from the commissioners, any questions at this point? And again, from the public and that, we'll have the questions in 2 weeks from tonight.
So there's no risk.
No. The,
We're just being a conduit. That's the way I understand it.
yeah, financial risk, no risk.
Yeah.
And they aren't being sold in the securities market, so that adds additional, you know, disclosure risk, but that's not gonna be the way these are sold, so. And that's why you hire me to make sure you don't have a risk, or I disclose what your risks are.
Very good. Other questions? Okay. Again, further discussion will be on the 17th. At this point in time in that, do we have a motion to set the hearing for the bonds on the 17th?
I'll make that motion.
And to clarify, this would just be a motion to approve resolution 24-16.
Correct. Motion to approve resolution 24-16, setting the hearing for June 17th, 2024, 5:30 p.m.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 11, discussion and action to share costs with the LAIC on the Lakeview Industrial Park improvements. And Jameson, would you like to introduce this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is picking up on a conversation that we started with the Lake Area Improvement Corporation last November. At that time, we knew that the EDA had awarded a large grant to us to expand our industrial park. It's up to 80% of construction costs of the 3.4 million. And the LAIC was approaching the city, requesting the city to help share some costs with that. They had also approached the county with the same request. At the time, the mayor and city commission expressed support for the cost share, but wanted to wait to take action until more factors were determined. So the request back in November was $614,000 over 10 years or more. And that covers half of the 20% of construction costs not covered by the EDA grant, as well as half of the engineering costs. And this would be just for the relevant portions of the project, which would be the new city streets are being constructed. The project also includes the reconstruction of a county road, which is South Washington Avenue, and that's what they were going to the county to talk about. So since November, there's been several positive changes financially for this project. The first is that the LIC has received a $500,000 LIP grant from the GOED office, and so that reduces the costs for the project substantially. Second is they secured financing through a Red Leg loan, a rural economic development loan, and that goes through USDA. So that gives them a 10-year loan at 0% interest with a 1% administrative fee. So you can think of it as a 1% interest loan. So that makes repayment on the project very financially easy. And then the third positive change was the actual project cost. When this project was bid out, it was estimated to be just over $4 million, and the actual cost was under $3 million, 2.87 to be more exact. And so with this low cost, they were actually able to add more work into the project to reconstruct more of South Washington. But still, the project is much lower than expected at 3.12 million. So this helps reduce the cost to all entities involved. So the LAIC is here today to pick up where we left off with those changes. And so now the updated request of the city is around $241,000. And that could be paid over 10 years to a Red Leg loan. And we would have the option to defer over the first 2 years if we wanted to wait to make some payments on that. So based on that and the prior positive consideration in November, staff recommend approving this cost share agreement that is attached in the board packet. It's 61% lower than we were expecting in November, so substantially lower. And the payments would be about $24,000 over 10 years, which is something that we can easily incorporate into the budget. I'll take a breath and then stand by for any questions and see if Rick wants to. Right.
Jameson did a wonderful job, recapping the project. Take a step back, when we first approached, it was April of 2023 when we applied for the grant on behalf of the city. And so we've been working on it for some time, and we're really pleased with the outcome and what we're presenting today, between the entire financial package, additional grants, low interest loans, and then obviously having a very favorable estimates from both construction. I'm pretty pleased with what we're presenting today.
Questions at all from the commission? Well, you know, this is fantastic, because anytime that we can add streets and infrastructure to the city of Madison, and that at less than 10% of the cost, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, so this is definitely something that is worth moving forward on, in my opinion.
I just want to highlight, so we're taking on the same risk that the city and plus the county's portion. So we're coming with 10% of the construction cost plus 50% of the engineering, and we're just coming to both the respective entities to do the other 50% of the engineering and the other 10% of that local cost. And so again, trying to be as fair as possible, carrying as much as we can.
Questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
If we make a motion, do we have to set a dollar amount, or is it just gonna be the 10% plus 25% of the engineering?
You could make a motion to approve the agreement that is included in the board packet, but if you want to make any changes or amendments to that agreement, you certainly could. Yeah.
In the agreement, we left it as an or, so we, if costs go up or down a little bit, we don't wanna take more than we need, but we also, if there's unexpected changes throughout construction, appreciate being able to come back, but, I don't anticipate any major hiccups. It's green space, it's open, it's bare land. It's pretty straight. It's helpful, so,
There isn't.
hopefully
There
there's,
isn't surprise.
Hopefully.
underneath.
hopefully, you never know. I'll find out.
Other questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement by and between City of Madison and Lake Erie Improvement Corporation for the cost share agreement for Lakeview Industrial Park improvements.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks,
for-
Brooke.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thanks, Brooks, and thank you for all the work you put in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
it's
you
a
for
great
your
project.
support, yeah.
Number 12, award bid number 956, Fire Department Generator, Tyler Electric LLC. And Jameson, I'll ask you to address that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the first of 3 bids that we have to award tonight. You'll remember that about a month ago, we received 2 bids for this generator. However, one was not, completed correctly and turned in the forms that are provided by the city. And the other was a much higher amount. So the decision was to reject that bid and to rebid. And that's what we are doing here today. However, we only received 1 bid, so the low bid from before that wasn't submitted correctly has bid, and in the amount of $106,000.90. This is higher than we had hoped for, and is higher than the bid was incorrectly submitted last time. One idea the staff have to reduce costs is to change order out the foundation work, which was included in the bid amount at we feel a higher amount than we could do locally, so we could change order that out, reduce the price, and then complete that work with local labor for a much cheaper amount. So I don't know what that would save us. And that's not an action we would take tonight, but that is one idea we would have to reduce the cost on this. I'll note that we received a FEMA grant for this generator. It was up to 90% of the project that was submitted, so this is a little bit higher, so that 90% will be a little bit lower. But I believe it was up to $72,000 is what the grant would be, so we would be looking at $30,000 to $40,000 of a local share towards that. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, unfortunately, but the grant would cover a substantial portion of that generator. This was made a possibility because of disaster funds that we were eligible for after the 2022 derecho. And so this allows us to install a generator at the fire department that helps to keep that facility operational, even in disasters where we lose power in the community.
And I'll add to that, I was on the phone call discussion and that, and this comes from dollars that are awarded across the state. And so if there are some dollars that come back in that were awarded to other departments, we do have an opportunity to ask for additional funds to apply toward this if they have excess dollars left over. But that we wouldn't know more until later on in the fall. So, other questions?
Do we have to reject the bid then because of the way you bid, Jameson, or can we just change order it after?
We would award the bid
Okay.
tonight to Tyler Electric,
Sure.
in the total amount.
Okay,
And then we'd have a change order that could remove the foundation work from there.
are they aware of that? If you tell me.
Randy's here. Ryan, do you know if they're aware of that?
I just want to look for $106,000. They're not wanting to change.
Yeah, I haven't discussed any kind of change orders with them. I mean, I haven't had communication with them. And I just shared that they were the sole bidder. We did talk a little bit about the cost of the foundation. That's one of the higher dollar amounts, and kind of was questioning why it was so high. But we didn't explore any options for change order. I think what we would try to do is work with the same contractor and perhaps modify the foundation and ask for a reprice. I think that would be the way to go.
So I gotta mention, I'm gonna abstain from this. Tyler Electric is owned by my dad.
Other questions, comments? Okay, if not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to award bid number 956 fire department generator to the Tyler Electric.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, and number 13, award bid for a 115 kilovolt circuit switcher and 115 kilovolt circuit breaker for Green and the Southeast substation to Border States Electric. And Jameson, I'll ask you to initiate the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this bid is for the equipment that you described. One piece would go to the Green substation as we expand that, and one to the Southeast substation, also planned for expansion. This equipment, as you know, is long, delayed, long order time, so we want to make sure to get that in sooner rather than later. The pricing that we received was 122,000 and change for the circuit switcher, 109,500 for the circuit breaker. And the bid did allow for us to buy two of one or the other if we chose, so we could buy one of each, or we could do two switchers or two breakers, depending on what we needed for our system, based on what the pricing was that came in. And DGR that reviewed the bids recommends that we purchase two of the circuit breakers for 105,500 apiece, for a total amount of 219,000. Nate, anything to add to that?
It's beautiful.
Okay, thank you.
Questions or comments?
Nate, this is part of the conversion to 115, right? So we're. It's a time clock here.
Yep.
And so. It'd be best to order the two. Circuit switchers or the two circuit
Breakers.
the breakers.
Two
Okay.
breakers.
We don't need two circuit switchers?
No.
Okay, so this would get us all the equipment up to 115 for the two subs.
Correct.
Okay.
You'll still have some miscellaneous equipment as we
Sure.
get to build out the design phase.
But these are the long lead times, so.
Correct.
And for the public and that, the lot, when we're talking long lead times and that, they can really run 24 months plus, right?
86 to 100 weeks, I believe that means. I'd have to review the numbers. So, yep.
So we won't hit, this won't hit our budget though, right? So for probably a whole year.
Well, I have to review, there might be a 70%, because when we initially started with DGR, they hadn't seen it in the past where a lot of the stuff like our transformers are requiring a percentage during the build process, like after prints are submitted, you got 30%. And there might be up to 70% of this cost we might have to endure this year.
Okay.
It all depends on when that hits a schedule, when the designs get approved, when the materials hit. There is a schedule built out
Sure,
for the requirements, so.
sure.
At that time, when those amounts are known, since it wasn't budgeted, I assume we'd come back to the commission at that point. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, if it's well, I would say actually, I'd say tonight, if it's not in the current budget, tonight would be the action that allows us to do that. If we need to come back later with the contingency transfer, that's an action we can take at a later date. It sounds like you're anticipating at least 30% of cost if this year's budget up to 70%.
Probably at least up to 70, so. And again, DGR, they did not, I asked them out on the front side if they had seen those pre-build requirements come through on these items before, and they had not, so, they were kind of shocked by it as well, so.
Other questions? And again, this is the lead time on these is what's really long, and with the upgrades that are being done by East River, and that is gonna be important that we have these on hand ready to go. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to award bid for two 115 kV circuit switchers and one 115 kV circuit breaker for the Green and Southeast substations to Border States Electric.
To clarify, it's 0 switchers, 2 breakers.
I was gonna say the same thing.
0 switchers, 2 breakers.
Yes.
Sorry, let me do that again. I will make a motion to award the bid for two 115 kV circuit breakers for Green and Southeast substation to Border States Electric.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 14, award the bid to the city administration building audio visual to Mid-States Audio and Visual. And Jameson, I'll ask you to address this.
Mr. Mayor, the agenda packet had 2 different proposals for Mid-States Audio and Visual, which we can describe. This covers all the audio and visual needs for the city admin building. 171,293 is the lower amount, and then to include all of the conference rooms is 195,000. The difference between the two is 3 conference rooms. There's certain TVs and teleconference equipment that would not be provided with the lower bid. We could either plan for that in future years, or we could repurpose some materials such as the TV in this room. I would recommend going with the lower amount, on this one, knowing that we could either at least spread the costs out to multiple years, or hopefully save some money if we can do some of that work ourselves as well. I'll note that we contacted 4 different vendors on AV needs, and we received proposals from 3 of them. And this one was, ended up being the lowest proposal. Mid-States Audio Video put a lot of work into this, project. They first, came to us with $250,000, and we felt that was higher than we could afford. So we have worked with them to remove some items and to switch out certain items as well to get it down to the either 171 or 194, that's 195 there for the year today. So this is again for the admin building, and I think I'll just stand by for any questions.
Questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to award the bid for the city administration building audio visual to Mid-States Audio and Visual.
In the amount of?
171,293.55.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, we'll have Jed come up. I'll get the Jed's put a lot of the work into this, so.
We do have a motion in a second, so you're just fine.
Okay, good deal. So just one thing I did actually forget to include in that 171, so, recurring costs on this, so for maintenance and support from Mid-States would be, $4,282 for the year. Just to give you a heads up, so the first year would be, $175 and some change, so.
Great one.
So, anything else?
Okay.
So Jed, you're comfortable with this?
Yes, I'm very comfortable with, Mark, Kuka and company did a very good job in their proposal and such, and their building looks pretty well.
Jed, you want to maybe take just a few seconds to more accurately describe than I did what's included within the bid? Just-
Sure.
there's a lot.
So what's included in the bid would be, for basically this entire room in the new, building. We'll have 13 different monitors plus mics and 2 TVs in the rear. It'll actually be pretty state-of-the-art stuff. And we'll also have some speakers with also, a device for the hearing impaired, so they can actually catch, the meeting, through Bluetooth or otherwise. And also that we also be broadcast just like we do here over Zoom or YouTube, or we do that. There'll also be, equipment included for the executive, conference room, which is right next door, 2 TVs there with the video conferencing equipment, as well as equipment that's gonna take in the emergency operations center down there for the police department. One thing to note too, we're getting a TV from Lake County, 90-inch smart TV for free. They're gonna give that over to us for use in that facility, so we're saving some dollars there as well, so. Yes, but I'm very confident in Mid-States on this one.
Other questions? Okay, we do have a motion and a second, so all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 15, authorize the mayor to sign change order number 1, Public Works Building Restoration, Head Construction LLC. And Jameson, you want to address this one?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this project is underway to restore our public works building. It includes siding, roofing, insulation, electrical, some mechanical, a variety of things. And one that would be added with this change order would be the replacement of doors. The doors that are existing there, to our understanding, have been there since the building was constructed in 1978 and are beginning to be in pretty rough shape. This would have 5 exterior doors. 1 is existing and would have a striker added to it. 4 others would be new doors with strikers so that we could have card access to restrict access into the building. And the remaining 5 doors would be interior doors that would be needed as well. Essentially, the doors we got now are quite outdated and need to be replaced. We've looked at other options. The price is $42,000. Other options we considered, we're trying to do this separately in the future. The challenge with that option is that the siding and the rest of the buildings can be done. So then you're gonna be replacing doors working around the existing building. Now is a much more convenient time to replace the doors when the building's already ripped apart and being rebuilt. We also looked at a few other options, but ultimately we kept coming back to approving this change order, so we would recommend approving it. for the 42,200 to, provide the 10 doors to the building. Stand by for any questions.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Just if we don't do it now, we're just gonna pay all of that,
Yeah,
to rip everything back apart. So,
yeah, from 78 to now, they've had 44 years of use already. So. All right, any other, questions? Do we have a motion?
motion to approve change order number 1, Public Works Building Restoration, Hague Construction LLC. In the amount of 42,000.
$203.62.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 16, authorize the mayor to sign change order number 1 with the park restrooms projects. And again, Jameson, I'll ask you to address this.
This project constructs 2 bathrooms at our Memorial and Totland Parks. Currently, those parks do not have any restroom facilities, and they are provided through rented porta potties throughout the summer. So we're very excited for these bathrooms to be complete. When we bid it out, the default color was for a split face block. And the staff wanted to see what the price would be to match our existing facilities throughout the city with a tan block. The cost for that was $13,370. We've tried to see if there's any other options on this one as well, but haven't come up with anything good. I would say that this additional cost is just the additional cost that Amert, our contractor, has on the bricks that they're finding that have the additional color in them. These restrooms could be built and they'll be functional with the gray split face block. It still look nice. It won't match the brand and the common theme that we have across the community, but it can be done. Or if you would like to see that continuity across our buildings, the price on that would be $13,370. So staff don't have a recommendation on this, but it is an option that we wanted to bring to you for your consideration. We'll stand by for questions.
Questions? Comments?
The 13,000 is for both of them, right?
Correct, yeah. Yeah, and so the original contract price is about 180,000. If I remember right, we had budgeted 200,000 for this project. So this change would still be within the budgeted amount. However, we have to still pay for the sewer and water connections, so that will be added onto this as well. And I don't know what the price of that is.
Other questions?
These are in residential areas, correct?
They are.
I mean, I think aesthetically, we need them to look nice in a residential area. Because if that was in my backyard, I'd want it to look decent, like everything else does.
And it will look nice. The split face gray brick does look nice. It's not the flat concrete brick when you think of, plain concrete bricks, but you're right, it doesn't match some of our other facilities. So if you want to have that common theme, it would be a different color than what we have currently.
Other questions? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign change order number 1, park restroom project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 17, authorize the mayor to sign change order number 10, Northwest 9th Street and Union Avenue reconstruction to Winter Contracting. And Jameson, you want to address this?
Yeah, I think I'll have Ryan commit with this. You guys have heard enough for me. Let Ryan take the stand.
Okay.
So this change order would be in the amount of $85,675.08. This includes a number of items. 2 of the items pertain to the desire to try to widen the North Union Avenue roadway. During the initial design that Houston Engineering had done, they had proposed a width of 27 feet from back of curb to back of curb. Our typical roadways are 37 feet back of curb to back of curb. So this was going to result in no parking on either side of that street. This was done, the 27 foot was done because Houston Engineering was having a hard time accommodating the drainage while also keeping the driveways at a maintainable slope and a slope that they were trying to match what's existing. With the redesign and with Banner Engineering being involved, I'd asked them to take a look at that roadway again to see if there was a potential to at least widen it to allow parking on one side. And their hydraulics and their surfacing have shown that we can accommodate both of the things that Houston Engineering set out to do by widening that road back out to 32 feet back a curve to back a curve. So those two components, the contract increase for widening the road to allow parking would be about 24,000 of this change order. The other component that pertains to that is if we widen that, we have to remove some trees and about 105 feet of fencing. I've looked at the cost for the removal of the trees, and it's actually less than what we've experienced on past projects. I don't have any parallel to draw from for the fence removal, but that also seems like a good price to me. The widening of the roadway, all of those unit prices seem to be in line with the project. So I'm comfortable with those two dollar amounts of the 9,000 and approximately 24,000. The remainder of the roughly $86,000 change order is for unclassified excavation. And now that's a bid item that your unclassified excavation is additional digging down. And when we change the road type to go from our typical gravel with asphalt over top of it and go to that concrete, reinforced concrete sub base, it required some additional unclassified excavation. We feel like this is a necessary thing. This will help make our roadway more strong. The alternative was to do a lot of dig outs, and going back in time to that change order that we did for the concrete sub base, it was a very good decision. We would have spent a lot more money trying to do oversized aggregate. And so this roughly 54,000 is a large price. You know, it's a large dollar amount. I'm not gonna shy away from that, but you know, overall, this definitely makes the project a better thing, and I would recommend approval of this $85,675.08 change order.
Where the full trees at?
So they're about halfway up Union Avenue on the east side of the street, and there are 8 of those. 8 of those trees there, yeah.
Okay.
It looks like 4, but there's actually 8 in there. So, yeah, and then the fence is kind of woven into the trees.
Yeah.
The other benefit of having this tree removal and fence removal is it will allow sidewalk to then be constructed. Yes, yeah. Always before because this was in the right of way, there was nowhere to put the sidewalk, so our pedestrians would have to cross Union Avenue and come. So that's an added benefit.
Any sidewalk?
There wouldn't be any sidewalk put in on that property at this time. This project just included removal and replacement of existing. And then new ADA rooms.
Other questions? Well, that's an area that's been in terrible shape for a long time. Having it, you know, really usable and proper drainage, and that is gonna be definitely an improvement.
Just to get the parking back, I think that's pretty big.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think there's been quite a bit of concern from the folks that live along that street, and I don't blame them. There's not a lot of parking area up there. So.
Any other questions? Comment? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign change order number 10, $9,675.08 to Northwest 9th Street, Union Avenue reconstruction, winter contracting.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Ryan, that adds a half a day of work on their contract.
It does, yeah, so that's an additional, they figure a half a day would take them to prep.
Jameson, June project updates for Ryan, or both.
Ryan's had his time in the stand in the hot seat, so. All right, so this month, we've got, of course, a lot of work going on. There we go. On the second slide here, I just made note of, there we go, the various projects that I kind of consider active and that I have in my mind when I'm putting together these project updates. But I don't provide updates on every one of these projects. Scroll down a little bit more. Oh, there you go, perfect. Up one slide. There we go.
Yep.
Sorry.
You're good, thank you. Much better to see that. So I don't provide updates on all of these projects. I only provide updates as they're relevant or there's something worth reporting to and we're spending some time on. This is a large number of projects. There's probably some that I'm missing. There certainly could be some one-timers that pop up that make these slides as well. But we've got a busy construction season ahead of us, and I think we're off to a good start. For next slide. Major infrastructure improvements. I've got some of our bigger street reconstructions here. We're pleased to share that on the RD projects, phase 1A and 1B and phase 2. All the work has been complete. There's just some seeding left to be done in phase 2, but that's considered warranty work. So on 1A and 1B, we're working on a final walkthrough, and then those projects are complete. And we'll likely have some conversation with you in the future to discuss liquidated damages as those projects have gone over schedule. Northeast 3rd Street, this is a half a mile east of Airport Road, just on the south side of the airport. They were scheduled to do all the work for this project on June 4th and 5th. That'd be Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. I was happy that I drove down the road today and they actually came here a day early and they started doing some milling to get that started. So we expect that to be done in 2 to 3 days. Pending weather, I should put that asterisk on all these projects as we go forward. The weather, we've had great rain for farmers, but the once a week rains for construction projects, they do tend to slow things down. So these are their schedules that they've outlined to us, depending on weather and other changes that might occur. But 3rd Street, yeah, that's gonna be milling overlaying for that whole half mile stretch, and should be moving pretty quickly. They are planning on keeping one lane of traffic open, so they have traffic control to allow vehicles past, but it's not gonna be permanently closed or completely closed during any of that construction process. Sewer relining. These cover, this is the CIPP cured in place piping. This covers areas where our RD projects had done some work, and this is a way of relining our sewer mains without having to completely excavate and dig them up and replace. HK Solutions is the contractor there. And we're happy to say all relining has been complete, and they are at the project walkthrough phase on that. So that's a project that went quite quickly. Park Creek walls, there are 3 sites situated throughout Memorial Creek. 2 sites have been bid out and awarded to Kestrel Excavation. Right now, they're working on the site 3. The coffer dam has been installed, and so while that's in place, they're pumping water so they can continue doing dirt work on one side of that dam. And the next work that they're gonna be doing would be shaping of the creek channel. So those projects are moving along smoothly as well. Any questions on this slide before I jump ahead?
Could you address the 5th Street? Breaking the sewer line.
Oh, yeah, now's a good time as any.
Ryan, would you
You're
mind?
talking the sinkhole we had?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I apologize, I don't remember the day, but as HK Solutions was doing their CIPP lining project, they had occupied the intersection of 5th and Blanche Avenue. And they had set a cone down and they had noticed that there was a small hole in the road. They really didn't think much of it. It's just a small hole in the asphalt. They put a cone over top of it by happenstance, and they came back a couple hours later. When they pulled the cone, the hole was larger. So they called us and we went and investigated, and as that hole, you could actually watch that hole start to grow, and there was nothing underneath the asphalt surface. So we're very, very lucky a traveling motorist didn't come by and fall in that. I put a shovel down the hole and I can't touch any gravel under there. The sinkhole was caused by a hole in the sanitary sewer pipe, and with the rains and everything that we've gotten, it finds its way in there and it washes out all that gravel and down our sanitary sewer system and created that void. So this is a testament to the need for our IPP lining project. And now the hole has been lined and we'll probably be working with Gary and his staff to go back, remove the asphalt, determine how large that sinkhole is, how big the void is, put some homo fill and then repatch the asphalt surface. But that's an intersection that we're probably going to have to plan a project and take care of in the future. It's on our IAP project, but this might move it further up the ladder. So
I want to shout out to engineering, utilities, and streets departments for all the excellent work they did on this. The first priority was to, of course, maintain safety and to make sure that the fix got done quickly. And then our second consideration was a financial implication as well. If we wanted to excavate down to it and replace the main, it would have been quite expensive. Do we have a price on that? Or?
probably in the $450,000 range.
Yeah, so very, very expensive. And this would be in an area that we're planning on doing work on in the next couple of years. As he said, it was on our infrastructure improvement plan. So the next consideration was how do we get this done quickly? But is there something that we can do to fix this correctly in time for our projects to occur a couple of years from now? And so they worked together with the contractor and came up with a creative solution to get it relined. So the pipe is working well, the hole's been filled, the whole problem has been fixed, and it's gonna be safe for a long time, but certainly until we're able to get into it in a couple of years to do the full project that we knew we had to do anyway. Anything else to add, Ryan?
No, I think that sums it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this slide? Okay, the next slide is continuing some of our SRF projects. We've got 4 segments to note. Segment 1 is the 9th and Union, which we had a change order on a little bit earlier. They have recently completed the water services on Union. And then their upcoming work is to be doing the second lift of paving on 9th Street. And then working on the sewer on Union and then the subgrade on that Union part. So with the 3rd Street by the airport that I mentioned earlier and the 9th Street of this project, if all goes well, they should have all of those projects paved by the end of this week. Again, pending weather, but that is the plan. They are in town working. Segment 2, this is a North Union, so this would be south of 9th Street for several blocks. Asphalt Surfacing Company, ASCO, has this project. They most recently have completed the water mains on phase 1 of this segment. And their next step would be to continue working on water services. Segment 3, this is the second phase of this project. They got a lot of work done last year, and now this year they are working, continuing to work in that Roosevelt, 8th Street, Maplewood Drive area of town, fronting construction to the contractor. They have completed all the removals. They have cut and capped the water lines, and so the next work is to begin the water main installation. And then the last SRF for this year is segment 5A. This is in South Union Avenue and 4th Street, also by Asphalt Surfacing Company. They've also completed the water mains on their first phase. And the next work is they're starting to do some deep watering before they can continue with the sewer work. I put that together on Friday. Ryan, anything of note to mention? If that's put together? Okay.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, any questions? All right, some of our other projects, the public workshop remodel, also something we had on the agenda tonight. Head Construction is the contractor. Again, this is new siding, roofing, insulation, electrical, and some mechanical. The recent milestones are they've completed the exterior siding on the whole south end of the building, as well as the interior siding, insulation, electrical components in the park shop. And then the upcoming milestones are gonna be moving to finish the park shop roof. And then once they're done with that area, they're gonna move over to the street shop to do some of the same type of work. It's starting to look like a whole new building. It's coming together nicely.
Do we have a projected end date on that?
I don't know it offhand. Gary, Ryan, Mike,
September or something.
September, when that
It's
was.
like satisfactory completion date, I think, or something like
Oh,
that.
substantial completion.
Yeah.
At the library, they are pleased to say that the Kiwanis Club has donated $5,000 to fund a story walk. So this is something that you may have seen in other communities. It's gonna be done in collaboration with the Parks Department, the library, and Kiwanis. So the Parks Department, this is where they put signs up through a park and they have different pages from a story. And so you can enjoy a walk through a park or similar area and read a story. And then the library can be switching those stories out. So the Park Department will do the installation. Library will be the ones maintaining the stories. And they hope to add an interactive story 3 to 4 times a year. And that's gonna be in the library park. Nobody clarified that, right next to the library. City Administration Building remains on schedule. Recently, they've poured the garage floor. They've also done concrete work for the curb and gutter. We're doing a lot of drywall and still doing some wall framing. It's a big building, so there's different, those 2 items, drywall and wall framing, have been continuing for some time. Upcoming work, in addition to continuing the drywall, they're gonna be doing some taping and finishing. And then they're also hoping to do the asphalt, the parking lot, within the next month. Moving on to events, with the library, their summer reading program is continuing off well. They had their kickoff on May 23rd with Smokey Bear. The kids have made passports so they can bring to summer reading program activities through the month of June. And they also, I get the page here. Are excited to have an adult 20 book challenge. So adults who meet their reading challenge throughout the summer will be entered in for a drawing for a $50 gift card from the office. Thanks to our friends at the office for collaborating on that. And then there's also a family picnic on Monday, June 10th. And so this is going to be at the library park. They're gonna have music there. People are encouraged to bring their own lunch, BYOL. And then the public library will be providing drinks and desserts. And the last event is an internal event for the city. Our employee engagement committee has held a lot of events recently, but most recently is a dessert challenge where employees were invited to bring their best desserts to compete for the greatest of all time trophy. And Oakley Denny from our election department was the one that took home the trophy for that. We had good participation. I left very full. I'm not sure I had supper that night. It was a great event by the employee engagement. And the last thing I'll note.
What was the winning dish?
Oh, I can't remember. What was it he brought?
It's a blonde snickerdoodle.
Blonde snickerdoodle.
And what was second, Savannah?
Yeah, it was bread pudding, blueberry bread pudding.
Nice. Awesome. And the last thing I'll mention is to continue to encourage residents to stay informed. They can scan that QR code, they can go on our website and sign up for updates. We have text messaging updates that gets out our letters regularly. And that's a offering that we're continuing to expand and to refine so that residents can log into their account and they can select what areas are most interested of them. If it's construction or if it's events or if it's hirings that are going on in the city, as job openings come up, they can stay informed through that application. Any questions?
We have a young scout here tonight, and that working on a merit badge. Would you come forward and introduce yourself?
He's a little shy.
Okay, your name?
Jacob Bain, I'm a member of Troop 5 here in Madison.
Very good. From this evening, do you have any questions from any of the people on the commission?
No?
Okay, well, hopefully you learned something tonight and good luck on your badge.
Thanks.
You're welcome. With that, we have a public comment. Robert Williard.
Thanks. You already said my name, so I don't need to say it again, right? Robert Willard.
Yes,
Robert Willard.
you're right there by the microphone.
No
so that
problem.
would be nice.
Wanted to update last meeting. You mentioned go talk to Sinclair's about the Hy-Vee. I did talk to Sinclair's. They informed me they did not initiate having a Hy-Vee there. In fact, the land between their building and Lewis was not big enough for a Hy-Vee. That's what Eric told me, so.
Okay.
Also, it was nice seeing Brooke again. She's a dynamo from LAIC. I talked to her about 10 days ago. And she did inform me of a couple of projects, Lakeview land project, and also some property north of town on 81 that could accommodate, maybe a neighborhood Walmart or a Colburn's or a, a Hy-Vee neighborhood grocery store or a pharmacy. The town gives LA, the big L.
Yes, yeah.
LAIC, on the last budget, a little over $250,000. And listening to her today, she wants another, some more money, 243,000, sounds like a good deal. But it seems like it's gonna be an ongoing thing with LAIC, they're gonna be wanting money down the road. I'm just saying they should focus a little bit on what the people want. And work on getting some competition in town for the folks. I did get a report back from Ryan in engineering. It was kind of a basic report on the utilities. I did see that some of the water bonds have been paid. And the major water bill bond that you have with the new pipeline coming in with the water is almost paid. I would suggest that once those get paid, that you might do a reset on the utilities. And and get more in line with what everybody else pays around South Dakota. I did do a study on a five state area. I excluded Wyoming. But South Dakota, North Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, comparing the size of this town to those type of towns. And in South Dakota, we're the only town in South Dakota with this size, with one grocery store and one pharmacy. Rock Valley is unincorporated. They're about the same size of Madison, but they're basically a suburb of Rapid City, so they have everything. Harrisburg has 2 grocery stores, 2 pharmacies. Sturgis has 2 grocery stores and 1 pharmacy. And T has 2 grocery stores and 1 pharmacy. And Bella Forge, which is north of Steamboat or Spearfish, thank you, has 3 grocery stores, 2 pharmacies. I looked at North Dakota, Devil's Lake, they have two grocery stores, 3 pharmacies. Walford City, North Dakota has 2 grocery stores, two pharmacies. Valley City has 3 pharmacies. They have only 1 grocery store, but I did talk to the store manager and she tallied up what they sell each year, and it's right around 8 million. And so forth with the other cities. The only exceptions I've really seen was those towns that had 1 grocery store was like suburbs of a major city, like Minneapolis or the Quad Cities or Cedar Rapids or whatever, what have you. Same thing with Minnesota. Minnesota's a more populated state, so they had a lot of towns about the same size as Madison. But the ones that only had 1 grocery store, 1 pharmacy was suburbs of Minneapolis or Shakopee. I did find an interesting town called Casson, Minnesota, which is about 50 miles from Rochester that has everything. But next to that town, they have a town called Dodge Center and Byron. They both have a grocery store. So basically they got 3 grocery stores within a real little area. I'm just saying that, for the amount of money that we give RAIC and then continuation of them wanting money, for whatever good purpose. I'm just saying they should focus a little bit more on the people and let this town have some competition. And basically that, as far as the utilities, these towns that I mentioned and that I have, I'm gonna do a rate comparison on the utilities and see where Madison lies. Right now, Madison doesn't lie very well. According to my utility bill, it's about 25–30% too high. You have a little town called Big Stone, South Dakota, that's only 400 people. They do basically what Madison does, but their bill is pretty high, but it's about 22.73% cheaper than Madison. So I'm gonna look at that, and I'm also gonna do a deep dive and see why utilities are this high in this town. I know we have East River that's in town here, and their top 9 salaries are their top one is like 700,000. The lowest salary is like 186,000. Then you have the Palace on the Hill, Heartland. Their top salary is around 400,000. They have about 25 employees, so there's a lot of energy in this town. I know East River brings in the love, and it brings it to our substations, and I don't quite understand the relationship with Heartland, why they're, you get utilities from them. Most towns that have a Heartland usually use Heartland as a secondary or, you know, any emergencies or whatever, what have you. So that's still a mystery to me. But I'm just saying, you should look at doing a reset on the utilities. Especially when a lot of these bonds get paid. And then let the town grow, get some competition in town that people want. And, build up your tax base that way. And by the way, I've been here 3 years, not 2. So, so I'm almost a local, you know.
All right.
I still have the southern Nebraska accent, but you know, some people, you know.
Sounds like you want to open a grocery store too, I mean.
Well, I should, because I tell you why, when I was a kid, my dad was an alcoholic and.
Okay, Robert, I wanna thank you and that for your input. And then just also mention in that there's about 12 different places in town here where you can buy groceries. And you also seen in the last meeting and in this one here as well, Dollar General is going to be building an additional store and that.
Right, and I talked to Shamir, and
So-
Shamir to handle
So
most of the grocery
The
stores.
town is growing.
No, I know, thank goodness. But I'm just
So-
saying there's a little bit more you could do, because this town, so far, I like this town. This town has a lot to offer. My health has gotten better. I like the air. I don't like, you know, in fact, you have to drive to effing Egypt, you know, to get stuff, you know.
Sure.
But a lot of that should be here in town, and I think you'll see maybe on that SIC code 5411, Shamir told me they don't know if that will change with the DG market, but right now the dollar store, their SIC code is totally different. It isn't reflected of the 24 million that is spent in this town on groceries. But I think with the DG market would be nice, because you might see that, you know, especially if they had the SIC code 5411, you might see more than 24 million.
All
And
right.
if you did have another grocery store, but getting back to telling you, when I was a kid, I used to go, they give you.
We have people in that have other things to do.
Oh, yeah, you're gonna cut me off, that's fine,
If you want to visit with someone afterwards, I'd really appreciate that you take the time to do that.
no problem.
And.
And I'll be
so
back,
right now,
I'll be back later on the utility parts, so, but I just want this on record, and you guys are awesome, so.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Our next regular commission meeting will be Monday, June 17th, 2024, right here at 5:30 PM.
All right.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.